Hi, everyone. I'm super excited to be joining you today. My name is Kehinde Fawumi. I'm a senior consultant at Netlight, and I've been with Netlight for about 5 years now. So I want to just share some thoughts, some research, and some strategies that are effective and proven effective for remote working. So again, that's me. Kehinde Fawumi is my name. I have right now a little baby girl who will turn 3 months this week, actually next week. And I also love to sing. I do consulting for IT topics and also management. My focus is on organizational coaching. So I work with lots of organizations and teams on topics surrounding this. But today I want to start by telling you a story that occurred recently at Netlight. So this is Simon, a colleague at Netlight, and this was already 1 week into the whole lockdown situation, and he was asking me how to move forward. Simon was, of course, at first enjoying the whole working at home situation, but right after 1 week, he started getting confused as to how to really prove effectiveness by working remotely. And I know this is a story for many people, students and workers, professionals alike, that how can I really face the pressure or be able to prove that I can be as effective as I was while working directly from the offices. But now they're working at home, you feel this extra pressure of the need to deliver. And so we had this chat and this call, and we decided to establish a weekly call where we try to think together and brainstorm on new ideas as a person to be effective at this time. But beyond that, he also was leading a team, and he wanted to know how he can bring his team together and make sure that everyone is connected, even though they're physically apart. And so we established this. And I shared this story because I wanted to lay a foundation for the fact that this is a real challenge. This is a real problem that many of us are facing. Most of us now feel compelled to work for longer hours to prove that it can be productive, while working remote. It's becoming more and more unclear. The line between the personal and work life becomes completely blurry because now your home is also your office. And we see that an increasing number of schools are closed, and which means that children are at home, and then the responsibility, especially for those who are parents, responsibilities between being a parent and working is getting way more complicated than before. So, which means that we really need to find effective ways to work. But I love this quote from Jeff Hood, and he says that distance doesn't separate people, silence does. The actual problem is not that we are physically apart or working from home. Research, and I'm going to show you some reports very soon, that shows that we actually love to work from home. So there's never been a problem with the fact that we want to work from home. Most organizations, Netlight alike, favors and actually encourages people to be able to work from home. We even fund it in some kind of ways. So that is not the problem. And I want to show you this research from the State of Remote report for this year already. So it's a very current report. And this is being facilitated by Buffer and Angel Lists. In this report, about 3,500, actually over 3,500 people had participated. And they were asked the question, would you like to work remote at least some time for the rest of your career? And 98% of people said yes. But not only that, people were also asked, what location do you primarily work from? And 80% work from home. So the problem is not about working from home, ideally. The bigger problem is the uncertainty that surrounds working from home. We do not know how long this would last. We do not know for how long we would have to do that, wake up, stay up from the bed and then go right to the next door, or in some cases in the same room, and just work from there. And I think this has a lot of psychological effects, and I want to get to that in a moment. People were also asked in the report, what's the biggest struggle you have with working remotely? And the top three is what I want to focus on, and that's collaboration and communication. The second one, that's just also 20%, is loneliness. And this spreads out into more things. And we're going to look into that pretty soon. And also not being able to unplug. And this is a big issue that it's a bit more unclear that, of course, you like the flexibility of the working hours, but the bigger challenge is that there is this tendency to work for longer hours, to work into the night, and to really get stressed out of that. Of course, other points are things like distractions from on and not being able to, communicate properly because your teammates are from different time zones and the likes. And by the way, I shared the link to this report in this slide, and I hope you get all the slides as well. Social isolation, according to the American Psychology Association, they said it causes depression, sleep disturbance, poor heart health, and cognitive decline. And this is quite scary because what we begin to see, and I'm not a medical expert, but based on these reports, what we begin to see is that the effects of remote working, especially when we do not pay attention to the strategies that would help us here, the effects can be really, really unfair. And I said unfair because it's not what any of us had asked for, which makes this talk and this workshop really, really crucial and very important. So these are some of the psychological effects that are possible with the whole social isolation thing, and that's loneliness and isolation. And this also comes with some higher rates of depression, of anxiety, and somatic symptoms like just sudden pains. And if you're already feeling this, I think it's important to actually pay attention to some of the tips I would share here. But of course, if it gets more crucial or the pains gets chronic, you should talk to a doctor. But also we have anxiety, stress, and pressure. Again, this ties back to the fact that it becomes more blurry to know when to start work and when to stop work and the likes. In some cases, there's also situations where people get depressed because, again, there's a psychological effect of just being in a closed door, atmosphere, and you're not able to interact as you normally would. All right, so this brings these questions, and I think they're very valid questions, and they are also questions I want us to really try to think through together as I just go through this slide. How can I take care of my mental health when working from home? Also, how can I ensure that I'm effective? What tools and technologies are available, to facilitate, to help me work better remotely? What strategies works best for me? What strategies works best for me? And that's very important because there is no one size fits all solution. As a matter of fact, it's important that you find out what your own needs are, what your own issues are, and then think of solutions to those problems. So it's important to be aware of that there is no one size fits all solution. And we're going to get to that very soon. I want to just quote Laura Hamill, who is a doctor and also a chief people officer at Limeade. And this is what she said. She said that if you're an extrovert and you really are driven by being around other people, and all of a sudden you're working from home and you don't have that in-person connection, that can be hard. But on the other hand, if you are already a person who needs your privacy and suddenly you have your 3 kids and a spouse at home, then that's not normally the environment you're in. So it's just different perspectives for different people. For extroverts, it's way harder. For introvert, for example, it may be easier, it may be much simpler. So again, it's important that you understand what are your own peculiar challenges and what can you do to fix that. But what's important is that you need to think of how to fix that. And the first thing I want to talk about is the mindset that we have. It's the mindset. I think that it's the mindset that we have, a perspective about the situation that defines how we would react to that situation. And sorry to be a bit philosophical here, but I've learned and I know that most of us react based on our own meaning, or the meaning that we give to any situation. It is your perspective that determines how you interpret the situation. And I just want to also share this report or these statistics from the State of Remote Report for 2020. And it was asking people what the biggest benefit, they see in working remotely. And 32% says that, of course, they enjoy having the flexible schedule. And more people also said that the flexibility of being able to work from everywhere. And this means that, of course, there are very positive things that we see about working remotely. There are positive aspects that we can focus on. And it's important that we see this as an opportunity. So perhaps you are a team lead. It's important that you choose to see the situation as a way, an opportunity for your teams to explore new ways of working, or as a learning opportunity. Now, most people know about more video conferencing tool, all kinds of tools and technologies that help us work better remotely. Many things are being learned. Many companies are also benefiting from this. So, as an individual, or as a team, or as an organization, or as a team lead, it's important that we see this as an opportunity. And I think it has to start from there. If you start from there, you can unleash your own ability to be creative in the way you find solutions to whatever challenges you have. Because like I said, the challenges will be completely different for different teams and for different individuals. So it makes it important that you can then look or think of specific solutions, or at least have this solution oriented mentality regarding the challenges that exist. So for individuals, I want to start deep diving into what I would consider some effective strategies. And the first thing is create a routine and stick to the schedule. There was a research done by Maria, who's an assistant professor at Tulane University in New Orleans. And it was, trying to understand what best strategies people can use, especially to reduce the effect of the loneliness or isolation and all those psychological effects that working from home could have. And one major strategy that stood out of that research was to be able to create a routine and stick to the schedule. Now, of course, we all want to have flexibilities, and nothing stops you from having that. But it's important, for example, to be able to get up every morning, have a reasonable goal for that day, and work towards that. You probably might have noticed that working from home, or studying from home, as many of your students, could mean that you get a lot of distractions. There's so many things that are calling for your attention at the same time. That's what we see these days. You're always having your face on the screens. If it's not the laptop, then it is the handheld, or it's a tablet, or it's the TV. So many things are trying to get your attention. And the best you can do is actually to set a goal for the day. If you have a clear list of tasks and goals, and you have a plan, for the day, it helps you to stay focused. You realize that you can better focus on what you have to do. Of course, and we're going to talk about that, the need to disconnect at some point and be able to move around and exercise and all that. You would have those breaks, but you would be able to better focus and be productive. I think most people are not productive because they do not plan to be productive. And so planning to be productive makes all the difference. If you can set clear goals for the day, and if you can stick to a routine, for example, when do you start to work? When do you stand up from the bed? And all these things has a psychological effect on you in the positive. And it has a cyclical effect because the more you feel that you're being productive, the more motivated you are to do more. And that's where you want to be, that you can get into a cycle where more productivity leads to more motivation for the next day, and then you're more productive. And what enables this is to be able to have a clear goal. Another thing is to be reasonable and not be too rigid. I mean, of course, you need to take short breaks. So you need, even though you have a plan, you don't have to be too rigid with that. Another thing that we see over and again, and this came from a lot of interactions with my colleagues at Netlight, is that now it's getting more difficult for people to know when to log off, when to stop working, because I mean, you're really in the same place. So there is no physical difference in terms of your workplace and home. And so it's important to know what it means to log off. Is it standing up from that chair and going to the TV? What I want to propose here is that have a time where you completely disconnect, when you have all the screens turned off, and you can then really absolutely focus on you, focus on things around you, no screens, and that helps a lot. But again, I want to talk about upgrading your home office. And I think the key here is being able to make your home office a place that you love. The interesting thing is that these tips looks like simple, straightforward. I've had it before. It's common sense. But do we do that? I think that's the question. It's important that we can create the right atmosphere around ourselves. Having the right atmosphere, having the right setup, for work makes a lot of difference. And there's actually a research as well that proves this. And you have all the link again in the resources section of this slide. The third thing very quickly is to get up and move. Really leave your house, get out of that zone and get some fresh air. Of course, don't go to where there are crowds and respect the old social distancing restrictions. But get up, get around, move your body, exercise that helps the flow of blood, your heartbeat, and all those things. The fourth thing very quickly is to lean on your community. And to explain this, I really just want to share a model that we use at NetLive with you. So what you see here is a man riding on a horse, and the horse is more like the support system. The distinction I like to make here is that the horse is stronger than the man. The horse is faster than the man. The horse is bigger than the man, which means that the support system is actually, in quotes now, bigger than you, and you can lean on that. But this is how it looks like in a more practical way. So that's you in the middle, and surrounding you are other colleagues, mentors, leads, and the likes, who are not only able to help but actually willing to help. Everyone is passionate about reaching out to you, and you see, the communication means it's something else. But as long as you can establish these connections, you can be rest assured that any form of issue or questions can be resolved. And this works effectively at NetLight, that you can throw out a question or ask for a call back or just call someone and really reach out on any of the communication channels that we have, and there will be a couple of people running towards helping you. And this helps us stay connected. And it was weird because when the whole lockdown happened, what we saw at NetLight is that the connection between these boys, those connections actually just got stronger. The network stayed, the connections got stronger because now we saw the need to communicate more. Now we see a lot more communication, a lot more conversations going on, a lot more things happening, and it was as though we already were set up for this. And this works really well. And I think the principle behind this is also that the cumulative effect of having more than one person address a problem is way more than the individual sum of those individual effects, which is a 1 + 1 = 3 or more. And I think that is crucial because, I will just jump back a little bit here. What we see is that the major issues that was identified, in this report is collaboration and communication. So what enables us to be able to overcome that seamlessly is that support system that we've created. And that is more than like you riding on that horse. And you can absolutely depend or rely on such a network. And I think this is something that other companies and individuals or teams can rely on. How strong is the network you have? Do you really have a connection, a personal connection with your teams? Because as long as you can lean on a community, on a network, you can solve a lot of challenges. Now for teams, I want to share a couple of ideas. A team at NetLive worked on the remote work team canvas. And the canvas is used to be able to help you align and define your processes, your cultures, task management, and other form of agreements you want to have as a team. You can use the tool or the canvas to facilitate that. It has different sections. Here you can talk about the team members' home situation, what risks and opportunities exist, what tools you have at hand. This could be technical tools, this could just be hands-on things. And you have different sections. And the way you use this is to bring the team together and have a workshop, and you use the canvas as the basis of your discussions. So you can have an introduction that explains the setting and the purpose of, what you want to do. It could be that your purpose is to define how to strengthen your connections. It could be the purpose of your team is to find the optimal way to work together. It could be your purpose is to define the culture or processes, to still maintain your continuous deployment. Whatever it is the purpose is, there should be a clear purpose, because that would form the basis for all the discussions you would have surrounding the canvas. And again, of course, you start then, or you continue by the brain dump section, which is you take one area at a time and let your team generate ideas. So you, for example, look at what tools you want to use for your processes. And then you put up the question. Everyone takes 5 minutes and generate ideas. One idea per sticky note, if you like, or just use one of the online tools, which I would also get to in a moment. And you can use that to generate ideas and pop it up there. One thing you can think of this as is some kind of retrospective to reflect, or future perspective to think ahead. Actually, it's a future perspective. And there are lots of online tools that helps you facilitate this better. But the key is that you can get all those ideas, fill them into this canvas, and have a holistic perspective of everyone's ideas. And the next point is, of course, you vote on the best ideas and you discuss them. And the final goal is to agree. And then you create a final set of goals or agreement with everyone. That forms your new normal, if I'll call it that. But basically, using this tool has helped lots of teams, and I just want to recommend that you can try to apply it as well. You can download it online, and I have the link also in the resources section of this slides. There are lots of communication tools and technologies that you can also explore. There are countless amount of that. For example, Mural is an online whiteboard platform. There is menti.com for collaborative and interactive meetings and conversations, and what have you. I mean, these are things you probably already know. Just wanted to put them again in your faces so that you can know and you can really realize them. And I think the core of this is to be able to say that it's at the end of the day really up to you, what you feel works the most for you. What I would advise is to actually try and use the remote work team canvas to identify what are the biggest challenges you have as a team. If you can find the biggest problems you have, and I can promise that it would be very much the same as the outcome of the reports that I shared with you earlier on, but there can be peculiar issues that you have with your team. Find those out. When you get an understanding of the challenge you have as an organization, as a team, and this could be leadership team, it could be at any level of operations in the organization. So you need to discover and define what the challenges are. Use the canvas to also define what are the possible solutions, or just a normal retrospective meeting and or futurespective meeting, as I would prefer to call it, and then use that to anchor the solutions that you are looking for. Once you find that, then you can start talking about what technologies can help you facilitate the implementation of your solutions. And that's crucial. It's first the problem, and then the solution, and then the tools and technologies that would help you facilitate the implementation of those solutions. So we live in a very interesting moment. A lot of things are changing. We're talking now about the new normal, whatever that means, whatever that would be, but we know that things will not return to the way it was. There are researchers that are saying that people are being affected psychologically, and that makes this topic of strategies to be able to work effectively, it makes it very relevant, it makes it very important, and it makes this very important. So for leaders, it's important, or for team leads, for the leadership teams, for executives and all that. And for students alike, it's important that you pay attention to this. You may not first know or discover how much effect this has on you, but over time, you begin to realize that you get demotivated. And at that point, or you actually don't want to wait until that point, but it's important that you then address what the problems could be and find solutions to them. All right, so these are some of the resources. I have an article on optimizing your organization to work remotely, and I want you to just have a look at that. I also shared some more detailed tips around there. Also, the link to the remote work team canvas, a bit more explanation on exactly how to use that. But also, you can download the entire canvas. And then the full report is there. Great. That would be it from my side, but I'll be more than happy to spend some time to answer your questions if you have any. So thank you very much. Right. I just got a question. Someone had written that, do you think remote working solutions will stay and become commonplace after the corona crisis, or is it only a temporary fix by companies? Actually, Daniel, there is now a research where by the same organization, Angel List and Buffer, and they're looking into the future of work, that will it tend to more remote working, which is basically what you're also asking. And what they're beginning to discover is that the situation is going to help us appreciate remote work a lot more. What we're seeing is that all companies are adjusting their processes and systems to enable remote work. So we're going to leave this crisis being better equipped, with technologies, with tools, with processes, and the way we actually think about work. So I'm very sure, in my opinion, of course, that remote working solutions will stay. It may not be as popular as it is now because that's the only option we have at the moment. But once we have other options, I think we would be actually still better strengthened to with our to be able to work remotely. And I'm very confident that this is a good thing for the future of work at large, because it means then that I'm not tied to a physical location to be productive. It means that I can be anywhere and still be able to work. It means that the freedom that we seek as individuals, as social people, we can finally get closer to that, and it will continue to improve that way. In many countries of the world, most companies are already adjusting their processes and systems to be able to work remotely. So it will stay, it's not a temporary fix, but of course, it may decline a bit after the corona crisis since now we have more options. But it's a positive thing at the end of the day. So thank you so much from my side and have a great time. Bye.